Anybody? YouTube is up. Okay. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by me are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. I got the same positions on, but you can't see is how much less exposure I have. I have significantly less exposure. I got stopped out of a ton of SoFi today when it broke that previous low. Can always look to re-enter. Risk management's the most important thing. So same positions, but a lot less exposure. Let's see here. Charts. All right. So first, it's Apple Day today. Just so you guys know, I do not typically do like a real afternoon meeting on Apple earnings day because I very regularly trade Apple on earnings day. And I'm holding a pretty small position into the earnings report, which is 100% gambling, by the way. So let's just be clear about that. You're holding stock into an earnings report. It is 100% gambling. It's a small position. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll be able to trade it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I think I'm gonna hold off on the Q&A today because Apple comes out at 4:30. So if anybody's got like a really, really pertinent, important question, sure, go ahead, throw it out there, and I will try to answer it. But I want to try to cut this off at 4:30. I might keep the stream going and just chat about the Apple numbers as they kind of come out here. But for the most part, I want to hold off on the Q&A section today. All right, so market bearish, right? Market is bearish. We had an interesting common gap to the upside that got bid up a little bit in the first 15 minutes of the day and then sold off. We were pretty on point in calling BS on the market up move this morning. In the morning meeting today, we were talking about that there was a potential, even though it was definitely a lower probability potential, for the market to have a squeeze day, a short squeeze rally type day, but that the important points from the market were yesterday's high and yesterday's low. So yesterday's high is 444.04. Yesterday's low is 428.86. We didn't break either of those on the SPYs. The Qs sure did, though. The Qs broke yesterday's low. That's not good. And the IWM broke yesterday's low as well. And the IWM even broke Monday's low. So that's impressive. Just shows you that we're in a really bad, really bearish market. SPYs here actually gave an inside day. So we'll see. Apple, we were just trying to figure out right before the meeting started what weighting Apple is of the S&P and the NASDAQ. So Apple is super important here, just like Microsoft was. And I believe what we came up with was that Apple is about 7% of the S&P and about 12% of the NASDAQ. Don't hold me to that as an exact number, but it's definitely somewhere around that. So how this market continues to further resolve, it is definitely going to be dependent on Apple's earnings at 4:30. But overall, this market looks really bearish. We discussed in the morning meeting that probability dictates lower, that there is a potential of a fast squeeze coming if we could break higher. But you really needed a technical uptrend to come in, and you needed to break yesterday's lows. And that did not happen. The market itself was actually being decently strong off the open. We had the big gap up here this morning, and again, last night's futures were insane. I don't need to get into that again. I spoke about it in the morning meeting. But we eventually had this big gap up. We pulled in a little bit as the market digested the gap up, allowing these moving averages to catch up. We made a low, we made a high, we made a higher low. It looked like the market wanted to fail here, honestly. And the housing number came out at 10 a.m., and it was an okay number for the market because it actually cooled off a little bit. So if the market is most worried about an increase in interest rates and rising inflation, you almost want to see some of these economic numbers cooling off. because then that actually means that the Fed, who is supposedly data dependent based on what Jerome Powell said yesterday, may not increase 7 times this year, because it's kind of what he hinted at yesterday. So the housing number came out that created actually a higher low that led to a slight higher high, but like I alluded to earlier, I was calling BS on this move higher here. When we pulled back, I was like, all right, maybe if this market can make a higher low and a higher high, it's starting to set up for this break of yesterday's high and we can get that short squeeze. But there are 2 major things that we noticed that enabled us to not have any conviction in this up move. One was the VXX here. The VIX was making highs and making highs. It was the VIX moving higher was a leading indicator today by a little bit that the initial uptrend in the market was going to fail. And also there was just a horrible lack of participation in this up move. The market here was moving higher. The vast majority of stocks that you would type up were not. It was basically just energy was going sideways. It wasn't even really moving higher at that time. Financials were kind of holding up, and it was these FANG names. This move here was really almost entirely these FANG names. Apple was acting very strong off the open. Microsoft was back above 300, acting very strong off the open. Microsoft even got above yesterday's high. Netflix was actually a great long trade for some of the people on the team today. I had spoken in the morning meeting about a buy in Netflix through 388. It didn't quite break that, which is actually a good thing on this first bar. And then we kind of called this doji down here. I said maybe this is a buying opportunity off this little doji that was coming in, recognizing that it was still pretty extended to the upside. I didn't take that trade, but Felipe sure did. Sounded like Felipe did pretty well with that. And then it broke that 388 to the upside, went as high as 395 before kind of giving this king-queen reversal signal here, or retracement signal here at the top that led to this price action coming down. And Netflix actually held up really well today, all things considered with regards to the market, right? The market was garbage, and the SPYs don't even really do the market justice. You really want to see how bad the market was today and get a better idea of why the participation was so weak in that initial up move. Look at the IWM. IWM was pulled back deepest at 10 a.m., was the first to make new lows, and then was just extremely relatively weak. We're looking at an IWM now of about $191. This thing was just at $245 or so, like exactly 2 months ago. So just a pretty crazy market environment, but like we spoke about in yesterday's afternoon meeting and this morning's morning meeting, we pretty much have time frame continuity to the downside. So you are better off erring to the side of the short side of this market right now until that changes. But risk management is still really important because we also have to recognize that you can get face-ripping rallies in a bear market. But right now, unless Apple comes through and saves the day here in about 10 minutes or so, this 430, which has been a key closing level for the SPYs, looks like it wants to crack. And then if that cracks, you're looking at bear flag continuation here for the market. So market technicals right now, extremely bearish. But again, when you've got one stock that is such a large weighting of the S&P, of the NASDAQ, I think we just said 7% for the S&P and 12% for the NASDAQ. This one stock could be the difference maker on what this market does. If we get that bear flag continuation, or if we see a face-ripping long rally in a bearish market. It's all going to come down to Apple's numbers. I'm inclined to think that they're going to be decent numbers. I don't know how much of that is priced into the market at this point. Obviously, it's not like Apple is coming into this earnings report at highs. We know that they've taken over again in China as being the number one smartphone. So that I would assume that their China numbers are going to be pretty good. But that's it. That's it. We'll see what happens. A lot of these, the ARK stocks just continuing to be destroyed. Just disgusting here. Like I mentioned, this SoFi, I got stopped out of a majority of my position in SoFi on the break of that $12 area today. You gotta manage your risk. I had a thesis. We caught this move here really well. It never should have gotten back below 1350. It did. partially maybe because of the market. Good looking hammer here. Attempted to get back above 1350 yesterday, failed. That failure led to a break of this hammer low. You got to just get out of the way. You got to get out of the way when your ideas are not working. That's why risk management's a key to the business. And that's all I got. That's all I got. We got 10 minutes here till the meeting, so I guess I can answer a couple of questions if anybody's got questions over the course of these next 10 minutes. I'll just, do first come, first serve here until 4:30 when Apple hits. I do see a question that was already in there from Sean. What is the best long strategy during a market downturn? How do you spot tactical opportunities considering earnings aren't holding up stocks? So the question is basically, what's the best long strategy during a market downturn? Well, the best long strategy is not to be long. The best long strategy is to be on the side of the trend. The best long strategy is to be doing short selling. If you are looking to go long in a bearish market, you have to do it really strategically. This is where we want to pay attention to our sentiment indicators and our extension rules. So when you've got really large degrees of extension to the downside, then that's when you maybe can look to buy things on the way up for those capitulation trades for upside retracements. But for the most part, it's just easier to be on the short side of the market. Brandon wants to know if I made a snow angel today. I did not make a snow angel today. I did do a little bit of snow shoveling today. I may or may not be trying to build a ski ramp in the backyard, and my wife may or may not have caught me spending a little bit of time building that ski ramp in the backyard, and may or may not have gotten mad at me for doing that. Yeah, I got totally busted, man. Totally busted. Steve wants to know how many bars should I use for my chart. So I don't really do it exactly that way. I can kind of give you some information here on how I look at my charts. So my typical daily is 90 days, just what you see right now. So I guess that would be 90 bars on my typical daily. Is typically it starts at 90 days, and then if I need more information, I have the ability to just scroll out and get more information, and then I can go back to kind of my 90 days. When I look at a 5-minute chart, the way I like to look at my 5-minute charts is I want to see all of yesterday's price action and today thus far. I'm not good enough on settings to tell you how this works. Maybe Pat can tell you this, but like if you were watching my 5-minute chart build out, and maybe we can even see that in an after hours chart, it adds the next bar, and it adds the next bar, and it adds the next bar as kind of the day goes on. So it's just designed to show me yesterday from the beginning of the day through today. So like when it's 9:30 a.m., I can see all of yesterday and the first bar. And then when it's 9:35 a.m., I see all of yesterday and the first 2 bars. When it's 9:40 a.m., I see all of yesterday and the first 3 bars. Again, I'm really not great with the software settings. Pat is. So you might be able to ask him how to do that setting. So that's not how I really do it. And then my 15-minute chart, I typically will be looking back about 5 days or so on my 15-minute chart. Maybe a little bit over 5 days to get some perspective, and then I might zoom in a little bit. But it's enough for me. It's really important, I think, to be able to see the shape of the candle. So when you're building out your charts, you don't want to be having your charts be like this. You see how I just condensed this chart small enough that you can't see the shape of any of these candles? It almost looks like a line chart. At a minimum, when you're making the size on your screens, at a minimum you need to be like this. So at least here, it's tough. You gotta good eyes. You'd probably go blind like this. But at a minimum, I need to be able to see the lines, the candles themselves, so I can see, oh, that was a doji, that was a maribozu, etc. So I can get some information off of it. So yeah, so again, I'm usually looking at my 15-minute going about 4 or 5 days. Usually looking at my 5-minute yesterday into today. Usually looking at my daily going back 90 days, and I have the ability to expand and condense if I need to see the information a little bit tighter. So hope that helps you, Steve. She says I'm gonna hurt myself. Which, I mean, I'm out. Yeah, exactly, home, and I'm at Target jumping off cliffs. She said I was a liability. Yeah, Rich. Good question, man. It's the smallest doghouse imaginable. How many bars in the 5-minute? I think I answered that question. Cool. From Urjo here, what are your thoughts on going along SE for a quick scalp? Aftermarket price is very tempting. Well, it's not a scalp if you're trading it after hours. It's not trading on earnings or anything, right? No, there's no liquidity here, so you wouldn't want to be doing anything with this after hours right now because there's a $1.50 spread. So just watch it tomorrow. And I don't judge scalps based on, you know, how beaten up the stock is on the daily chart, right? Scalping is going to be more kind of time frame, so that would not be something I would recommend doing, especially not right now after hours for the $1.50 spread. Stefan is a believer in energy still, and he has been very right. Energy got a little bit extended again, struggled a little bit because of the market weakness, but overall held up really well. XLE is up 1.4% today. How many sectors are green today? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only one. Pat, and just like that, Pat gives you some bad news on that SE. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes till the fireworks happen. I'll keep on for now. Let's see if we can change this to a 5-minute chart that shows the post-market action. Honestly, though, the post-market action in the charts is not really one of the few times where tape reading is still super important. Tape reading used to be a big deal for my own trading a decade ago. Now it's really not that important at all. It's only important in certain scenarios. One of those scenarios is earnings. After hours, you know, when information first comes out, there is no charts. And same thing like in an IPO. In an IPO, there are no charts. So I wish I could share my level 2, but I have a position, and compliance restricts me from showing my position sizing, which you would see in my level 2. Not necessarily saying even for sure that I will trade it, but it is very typical that I trade Apple after hours. And we'll see what happens here. Currently trading at 159, closed at 159.20, so right around where it was. Finally saw a legitimate refreshing seller today. So Pat usually gets the information in here really quickly. The robots are going to go crazy. I do have a 5 o'clock meeting today too, which is unfortunate. Varun, it's got a trade up there. Sometimes they halt Apple, but usually they don't. There has been some occasions where they've halted Apple for like 10, 20 minutes or whatever, and then they reopen it. But usually they don't do that. Yeah, exactly. Varun said they haven't halted it since 2 stock splits ago. I remember that. I remember when that happened. That was nuts. It was really that long ago? Am I really getting that old? All right. Apple upticking. Apple upticking. Not seeing anything from Pat yet. 160.50 tried to hold. Came right back down. EPS beats by like 21 cents, it looks like. Revenue beats. Apple iPhone revenue is a solid looking beat. Looks like it beat by like 3-4 million. Yeah, 160, 150, 162, 50. Holding on the offer a little bit. Trading a little crazy here initially. Right back down again. Wearables beat by a little bit. Revenue was a solid beat. It's a beat. It's not massive, but it's a beat. 162.50 again. That's an important. This 162.50 is acting as some resistance here. 162.59 sold. There was a seller at 162.59. 10K on the offer. Another 10K on the offer coming in. 162 with some selling. That 162.59 is an important spot if they try to bid this thing up. They just cleared those two 10Ks. You could be short versus that 162.50. I'm not doing that because I'm already long. And I didn't add. I don't really have the conviction to add through that 162.59 either. You might be able to do it as a scalp. There's 10K at 162.50. So that's your key upside spot right now. They tried to break that 162.50 that last time up there, and they ran right into that to a refreshing seller of 59 cents. Net cash neutral over time. 162 took some prints again, came right back down. 161.50 crossed like 10,000 shares on the offer. That's printing. I'm lagging a little bit. $162 broke again. Let's see what happens at this 162.50. Seeing like 25,000 shares on the offer at 162.50. Little bid just came in at 162. I like that. I like that. There's that 59 inside again. Let's see what this 59 is able to do here. Arca took 700 shares at 59 cents. Is still holding. There's another 2,500 shares went off on NASDAQ. So that 59 is holding really, really heavy. That breaks, you could be long versus 162. Still selling. Still selling. NASDAQ selling heavy. NASDAQ refreshed the 2,500 shares. That's what we call a resizer there. Clear it. There we go. Cleared it. Look at that pop. Look at that pop. There you go. So you could be long versus 162 where that bid came in on the break of that seller. Nice little 75-cent pop on that break. Felipe got it. Sounds like maybe Pat got it. You don't want to see the 162.50 get lost now. See, the same way that this is, you can't see it in the chart, but the same way that that was resistance on the tape, you want that to act as support on the tape. I would still give that space down to 162 though for anybody who is long. Well, let's watch what happens here at 163.5. Let's see if sometimes when you got heavy buying pressure and there's a seller there, the seller might just step back $1. So we'll see if that comes in again here. So far, 163.50 is kind of holding, but I didn't really see any actual sellers come in, like any real sellers in the tape. It's just kind of some extra supply here that's not breaking yet. Coming back down a little bit off 163.50. Let's see if this 162 to 162.50 can hold as support now. That's what I would want to see. If you break 162 on the downside, I think you can stop yourself out. Yeah, heavy. Some buying at 18 on Arca, broke. Yeah, there's just some buyers coming in here trying to support this 162 because they see what I saw. But no, too heavy. Yeah, that's not good. It wasn't a heavy break of 162 there, but I don't like that price action. They only broke it by like 12 cents. But like I said, I don't like that price action. They shouldn't have lost the 162. Yeah, there you go. That's a little heavier now. They're losing it. So you want to stop yourself out there on that break of 162. Now let's see what happens. Your charts will start to matter a little bit more. Maybe we'll get like an inside 5 that'll come in here. Felipe got out. Good job there, Felipe. Just trading a little bit sloppy right now. Just trading a little sloppy right now. 162 is acting a little heavy again. 10K came in, but they creamed it. Another 10K back at 162 half on ARCA. Going after the half again. Printing the ARCA guy. It was just 10,000 shares. They cleared it. A little buyer stepped up to 58 cents. A little buyer stepped up to 63 cents. NASDAQ. That's what you want to see. You want to see those bids rising as they take the offers out. See what happens if they put some pressure on those bids, though, if they come back or if they fold. Acting better. Yeah, those little baby buyers were stepping up there. Where am I offered? I'm offered like 165 in this thing right now. Keep in mind that, you know, the actual resistance matters, right? 164 was resistance the last 2 days here. It's also about where the ADMA is on the daily chart, if my memory serves me correctly. So it makes sense that 163.50 area is where this thing started to struggle technically. See, the technicals still do matter. 162.50. Selling again, ARCA. So that's your next struggle spot, and it makes sense based on the daily. Would be that 163.50 to 164. Be curious if they don't guide. And the big thing that you always want to listen to is like increasing on buybacks, dividends, for sure, what Brancher said. So like the buyback information is so huge in this Apple. Apple basically just been buying back the whole stock market. 35K on the bid at 162. I really want to see this 162 hold this time. We're kind of building out an inside 5 so far. The inside 5 will close in a minute and a half. $7,000 shares at 162.50. Cleared it. The stock is definitely thickened up a little bit here, but that can loosen right back up if they break some key levels on the downside or the upside. Apple CFO says expect less supply chain issues in current quarter. Sales hit in current quarter from supply chain issue expected to be less than $6 billion. Apple CFO says supply chain issues cost more than $6 billion in the quarter, in line with guidance. Apple suppliers are gaining after Apple results. SWKS, QRVO. Okay, back to the tape here on Yablika. 22-cent dividend declared. They returned $27 billion to shareholders. It's so insane, bro. All right, here we go with this Apple resistance again. We got about 75,000 shares on the offer at 164. 67 of it's on ARCA. 6 is on NASDAQ. I got buyers stepping up again. They just creamed that offer. Let's go. My first sale is still a little bit higher. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about my sales. If I'm broadcasting on YouTube, I gotta take that information out going forward. Forgot about that. Forgot I was on YouTube. I mean, this information the Apple CFO is saying about the easing of supply chain issues, that's really good for the whole market. That's really good for the entire market right there. It really is. Apple clearing through this level here. If Apple is opening above 164 tomorrow, yeah. Brant saying that he loves the CFO's comments. I love those CFO comments too. It's basically saying supply chain issues, they're going to be gone soon. No worries. No worries. Be happy. Oh, here we go. Get your boy done. Boom. 165 here with 70,000 shares on the offer, so a little more than that, maybe 80. 164.99 is the high. I love those CFO comments, man. It's so good for the entire market. Save us, Apple! Apple breaking out technically on the daily now. Save me, Apple. Great job, Rowan. Gabriel, shh. All right, back to the tape here. Bid stepped up to 165, 25K. That should break. There it goes. But, ooh, he refreshed past it. He printed his 25K, and then he had more. He was like, this 25K is just a little tease. I'd still be surprised if this thing doesn't pull back below 165 again. You see that 165? Refreshing buyer on ARCA. It might be refreshing on ARCA and NASDAQ in 165. See, that's like, see, those are some of the key tape reading signals you want to see. There's a real buyer in this thing here. Could be a short getting squeezed. I don't know what it is. But they were showing that 25,000, 28,000 shares or whatever at 165. They printed the entirety of it, and like an extra 15,000 shares went off that was non-displayed. Just showing you somebody's there to play. Somebody's there to play ball. Starting to get a little silly here, though. I would expect a little bit of a technical pullback. Apple wouldn't project beyond current quarter on supply chain issues. Apple supply chain problem to lessen in current quarter. You love that comment, man. You love that comment if you love America, right, Brant? Brant was getting upset at the Apple naysayers when the market was closing. You guys are un-American. What's the SPY's doing right now? Upticking small. SPY's got a lot of work to do. SPY's got to get above yesterday's high. I'm actually surprised that the market futures aren't higher on the CFO's comments. It sounds like those comments are good for every company that produces something. We'll see. Like I said, the market has a lot of proving to do. Apple just lost that 165, which I kind of expected. It was a big boost to not have some volatility there. We've mainly just been straight up so far. I don't think you want to chase Apple if you're not already in it at these prices right now. It'd be great if 164 could hold. I want to see the 80 MA on my post-market 5-minute catch up to 164. That would be pretty nice. CFO provided guidance on supply chain issues specifically, not guidance for the company. That's what I saw, at least. They said that the supply chain issues cost them $6 billion this year, which was in line with expectations, but that they think that that's going to ease this coming quarter. which again, I feel like that's hugely bullish for the entire market. Such a big comment there. Yeah, works. I would expect a little slop here. I'd love actually an inside 5 if we could get it. Rune. Some little offers came in, some supply came in here. 12K at 40, 15K at 50 or so. Probably profit takers, to be honest. That break of that 162.59 seller, right, guys? Was so key. This is why I love trading earnings names. I don't do it a ton. You can't do it with most names, but I love this price action when the tape is pure like that. You needed that. Once that seller cleared, it was like bam, off to the races. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. No problem, Justin. But, you know, just keep in mind that, like I said, most of the time this tape reading that I'm doing right now is, like, not worth it. But this is how I used to trade, like, almost exclusively 10 plus years ago. I didn't even need charts. But it's just changed so much in the last decade plus. It's all about your technicals now. Tape reading is really not an important skill, except for once in a while. And in those once in a while periods, it can make you some money. Like I said, it's a situation like this, or it's an IPO. Otherwise, you really want to be chart focused. I won't buy SARC on principle. I think it's a scummy thing to come in and I'll short ARC. I think it's a scummy. It's actually probably very American. I just think it's scummy. Let's see if this Apple can get above 165 again. We're looking at a possible inside 5 again here. 2 more minutes. Urgio, I was fortunate enough when I was a brand new trader, and again, it was a really different market environment, to be seated around a group of traders who were really experienced and really, really good tape readers. So I just learned entirely off of basically what we're doing right now, but every day. Because again, that's what they traded off of. I forget the number, Rock. I know that they've tapered that off. Is it 15 billion? I think it might be 15 billion, but someone needs to confirm that. Total lot size? But yeah, you can see that. Let me go to a stock. Let me just go to the... Is this what you mean? This is lot size right here. This is showing you the size on the bid or the offer. And you might not have it in the same order as I do. It depends on your settings. But I go ECN, price, and then amount. So right now there's 4,000 shares in ARCA. I just lost the price. 4,000 shares in ARCA at 60 cents, which is now 2,000 shares inside. That's the Qs. Qs are moving really rapidly here. Microsoft moving slow. You get 2,300 shares on ARCA, 301.90 inside. Yeah, Apple's struggling to get back above 165 right now, but it's also holding 164, which is what I want to see. I mean, this 164 has become a key level on the daily chart, and it's where the daily ADMA is too. So if we can get an open above 164, that might be able to help this market out. And like we were saying before, the I really like the comments out of the CFO on the supply chain stuff. ugh, a lot. These bad prints happen a lot after hours. On earnings days for these stocks. Catch-up print. Yeah, Apple kind of retesting this 164 here. Apple just had an inside 5 with 164 as the low, which is kind of what I want, but I want the ADMA to catch up. ADMA on the 5-minute here isn't even a 163 yet. It's still $1 away. So it might be a little loose. It might break through that 164, but broadly, I really want to see Apple holding above 164. The market could use a win. Yeah, the conference calls at 5. Apple is one of the cleanest stocks, Gabriel, technically. It's usually not dirty with its levels. For sure, me too. And it just held that 164 on the downside there really, really well. Yeah, I know people who have done what Robert is suggesting. You can record your screen and then kind of watch it in slow motion a little bit. You just... I find that traders now, if they're new to the business and they're trying to learn to read tape, I find that it actually... 164.50 just bought on NASDAQ. Broke. I find that it actually does them more harm than good. Because what ends up happening is they have a good chart-based technical trade on, and then they think that they see some seller or something like that in the tape, and then they end up liquidating their position when it was just noise. The level 2 in the tape during market hours, especially with all the robots and fake liquidity and everything that's in there these days, is it's really easy to think you see something that's not there. Brant given a really good point here. Most of Apple's cash is actually treasuries, which lose value with inflation, so they'll accelerate buybacks and dividends, in my opinion, if inflation gets sticky, and they have a bigger pile of cash than anyone, so that's why I see relative strength, but that's my 2 cents. My 2 cents trade for 1 cent, so who knows. Thanks, Sean, no problem. Yeah, Robert, for sure. Ton of spoofing. Let's see if we can get back above 165. I think tape reading during market hours is really only helpful if there's news. Sometimes a little bit. There's a major buyer or seller that you're able to recognize, but no one like shows their size anymore or anything like that. Any of that easier stuff. All right, Apple about to create a 5-minute shooter here, which is a good thing. This ADMA on the 5-minute is catching up. I'm just sitting on my hands. No, just not as important, but it is an additional factor. You'll sometimes see some algorithmic buying kind of come in on the ADMA on a stock like Apple when it first touches it. When you're talking 15 to 30 minutes after the report has already occurred. The more time that goes by, the more the technicals become more important again. But yeah, all about that 162.59. I hope some of you guys are able to capture that. I'm not sure the next important. We got 2 inside 5s in a row there, which we call a 5-minute shooter. ADMA is just above 163. They might lose this 164 here. I really hope that they don't. 162 is still my important downside spot. There's not really too much resistance in Apple on the way up here. A little bit from this tail maybe. 170 seems like the next major spot. You do have the upper band of equilibrium at 168 looming, so they might struggle there a little bit too. 20K just came on the offer at 30 cents. I feel like they're trying to push this Apple back down here a little bit. But at 164 bid, you've got 55,000 shares on ARCA and 5,000 shares on NASDAQ. Ooh, the offer pulled. The 20K offer just pulled. There was your spoofer, Robert. I didn't get a haircut, man. I haven't gotten a haircut in months. It was the one thing I wanted to do in New York City before I left was go to my barber, and it didn't happen. And I'm very loyal to my barber. That's why my hair got so long during COVID. But I might have to find somebody out here. I combed it. My hair's a little different out west. Something about the, yeah, it's something about the air or something. I don't know. But I appreciate you noticing. Rowan does not want me to grow my hair out again. He said I look like a serial killer. Alright guys, I got a 5 o'clock meeting. We'll see what happens on the conference call. So far so good. I definitely want to see this Apple stay above 164. Peace. No problem, guys. Glad I could help. Hope I helped some people make some money on that move there too.